Hello everybody.
Hi.
My name is Darren.
And I'm Graham.
And I have seen, well, so have you at some point in your life, but I have seen all 4 Mission Impossible movies in preparation for Mission Impossible 5, which is out this week, or whenever this video goes online.
What's it called? Like Rogue Nation or something?
That's exactly what it's called.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
That's a stab in the dark.
And what was interesting is that I watched Mission Impossible 4 last night. I'm going to put spoilers in this for the first 4 Mission Impossibles, deal with it.
Spoiler video.
The last few seconds of Mission Impossible ends with him getting the mission for Mission Impossible 5. The Syndicate, it's called.
Well, we haven't seen it, so we don't know.
Well, no, but I know the baddies in this new Mission Impossible film are called the Syndicate. But I thought that was interesting. Like, I wondered if it was the end of Mission Impossible 4 was set up for Mission Impossible 5, or it was just a throwaway ending, and then they thought, oh, we'll tie it into that. Do you know what I mean? Like, was that? Oh, it's just the one. Anyway, it's not what I wanted to talk about.
No, it's interesting.
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because they had the foresight, at least.
But did they? Did they have the foresight, or did they just think, oh, yeah, we could use that?
Well, I guess it's open-ended enough that we'll never know.
Well, we won't, unless we meet these people, which would be nice. I like Tom Cruise a lot.
Yeah,
I think he's underrated.
I just keep looking at his middle tooth.
Yeah, that's fine. Anyway, so, what do you think about the Mission Impossible franchise, 1 to 4? We haven't seen 5 at this point.
Yeah, they're good. They're very good.
What's
underrated, as we've discussed.
Me and you have discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2's rubbish. 2's not underrated. Yes, I think that one.
Should we start with what makes 2 so bad?
Everything. Well, the funny thing is, right, the thing that I love about Mission Impossible is that every film has its own director, always has its own director, has a new director. And, like with the Bonds, until Sam Mendes came along, the Bonds are producer-driven, so it's, it really makes no difference who the fuck is John Glenn? I don't know, but he's directed more Bond films than anyone else.
Yeah. But the Broccolis are in the steering wheel.
Yeah, and Michael G. Wilson. Whereas in Mission Impossible, they bring in these really cool directors, and each director is allowed to put their own stamp on. Each Mission Impossible film feels like it's been directed by that director. So Mission Impossible 1's by Brian De Palma, who's always been kind of criticised. Yes, he did. Yeah, he's always been criticised throughout his career for sort of stealing from Hitchcock, and everything's quite Hitchcockian. And Mission Impossible 1 is essentially just North by Northwest in a way. It's a man who's been framed and he's being chased by sort of shadowy organisations, except in this case it's a spy and not Cary Grant. So Mission Impossible, we'll come back to 2, which is why I'm talking about this, because you asked me what's about number 2. Right. Mission Impossible 3 is J.J. Abrams. And...
Was it?
Yes.
Why didn't I know that?
I don't. It was his first ever film.
Oh, right, okay.
And what's J.J. Abrams known for? What would you say? Other than nostalgia and lens flare. Rejuvenating franchises.
Okay.
Star Wars he's now bringing back after the travesty of the prequels, and Star Trek he brought back. And Mission Impossible 2 was rubbish, so he came in, and I think Mission Impossible 2 came out about 2000, and Mission Impossible 3 came out 2006, so 6 years, so he rejuvenated that franchise.
In a way, he kind of rejuvenated Spielberg films by doing Super 8.
Well, I don't think Spielberg's ever had a problem.
No, I know, but it's kind of like, well, yeah, I guess not.
And Mission Impossible 4 is Brad Bird, and that was his first live action film, with people. And it feels like it's been directed by a man who's used to animation, because everything is it's just set piece after set piece. It's just action non-stop. And I think that, like with The Incredibles, it's about a kind of dysfunctional family, which is also what he directed. And Mission Impossible 4 is the first one really that kind of hones in on it's a team thing. With Simon Pegg and Jeremy Renner and like Tom Cruise isn't in it for chunks at a time. I mean, not big chunks, but that's not been the case with the other 3. And so back to Mission Impossible 2, the reason that film was like a John Woo movie is because John Woo can't make American movies. Like, every movie he makes in America is shite. So in a way, he did keep his directorial style with Mission Impossible 2. I mean, he's amazing in his native land with things like Hard Boiled and The Killer and stuff. But then he comes over to our side of the water. Well, technically America. Well, not in America.
Our side. We're children of the earth.
Yes, whatever. And you get films like Paycheck and what else did John Woo do? Oh, I don't know. More Mission Impossible 2.
B movies.
They're not B movies. They've usually got an A-lister in them, but they're just all shite. Anyway, so the reason I hate Mission Impossible 2 is, firstly, unlike the first one, which is really kind of tightly plotted, because it's a thriller. It's just long and boring. It's just long and nothing happens. Because nothing happens. Like,
it's an action film?
Yeah, there's like no action except there's a shootout at the end, a shootout a bit before the end, which I quite like, and him climbing a rock at the beginning, and that's it.
Oh yeah, he does the rock thing.
Yeah, well, that's good. I like that.
Yeah.
But Anyway, we're lingering. So basically, it's long and it's rubbish, and I really, really hate all the characters in it. Sandy Newton's boring, and the villain in it is really, really rubbish. Doug Ray Scott, who's like a bad Jared Butler before Jared Butler came along, which I'm not the biggest fan of Jared Butler. I like him in some films, but anyway.
He has his place, but yeah, not here.
So Mission Impossible 2 is rubbish, but I really like 1, 3, and 4. And I think that you said they're underrated because they're seen as a lesser franchise, which I think is true as far as spy movies go, because when you think of spy movies, you think of things like Bond and Bourne, which are quite heavy.
Espionage rather than action, it's...
Which ones?
Same Bond's more kind of like...
No, Bond's an action film.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's kind of more focused... I don't know,
I don't think Bond's more focused on the espionage than the action.
Do you know what I think?
Well, I mean, look at Skyfall.
It's like, no, but it's more... I mean, I'm thinking about getting like behind enemy lines and stuff. Well,
yeah, that's what happens in some of Mission Impossible films.
Carry on.
They're more, they try to be heavy and like deep, and they say something about they try to say something about the world. Some do, some don't. As in some Bond movies do, some don't.
Yeah.
Whereas Mission Impossible, it's always just trying to be fun. It's just frothy and fun and throwaway, and let's see what stupid thing Tom Cruise will do next.
Right.
And so I just think they've not been quite seen as on the same level. So they just come along and that's it. Whereas a Bond movie, it's like, oh my god, a new Bond film this year, and oh my god, Paul Greengrass is doing a 4th Bond movie. What the hell? Whereas if it was like announced Brian De Palma's doing a 6th Mission Impossible, that probably wouldn't be the biggest news in the world.
Yeah.
But it'd still be probably a really, really good film. Really good. And Tom Cruise has been doing it now for like 20 years. Like Mission Impossible 1 came out in 1996. It's 2015 now. So even though it's a throwaway thing, I can't think of another actor who's played a spy for 20 years. I mean, I don't know, maybe Michael Caine did it in one of those Ipcris sequels. I don't know how long they lasted. Like maybe they went to the 80s or something. And I suppose technically Connery did Never Say Never Again, but that doesn't count because it's not official, so fuck it. But yeah, I mean, consider it such a throwaway thing. Like he's kind of dedicated, 2 decades to it, on and off. Anyway, so the reason I think they're interesting as well is that they're the first that I can think of, certainly successful spy franchise to start after the Cold War ended, and pre-Cold War, or when the Cold War was still going on, and you had like the Bond movies and like say the Ipcris Files and stuff, and usually the baddies were the Russians, because that was nice and easy, because they were the obvious baddies for a Western film to make.
Yeah,
because
everybody can do a Russian accent.
Go on then.
No.
Okay, don't then. And since the Cold War's ended, spy movies, unless it's something like Tinker Tailor, which is obviously set in the past, have struggled to find who their villains are. So you look at, spoiler alert, don't forget, Mission Impossible 1, 2, and 3. The baddies are Mission Impossible members.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert. In the first one, it's John Voight, who's his boss. In the second one, it's Doug Ray Scott, who's a rogue agent. In the third one, it's Billy Crudup, or whatever his name is, Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen, who's one of them. You just think, like, if you fucking shut your own agency down, we wouldn't need you. You're only saving us from yourself. And even Bond, I think that the first Bond movie post-Cold War was GoldenEye. The bad guy's Trevelyan, 006, and then the one after that was Tomorrow Never Dies, with the stupid story about Jonathan Pryce being able to predict the news. So, but spy franchise really struggled afterwards. But, Mission Impossible got away with it because even though they were the same villains every time, it was still fun.
Yeah.
And that bit in Mission Impossible 3. I mean, firstly, they got Philip Seymour Hoffman as like a villain, and he's amazing. And that bit where they put the mask on and where you literally see Tom Cruise turn into Philip Seymour Hoffman is amazing. So,
I agree.
So yes. Oh, and also I think that every single Mission Impossible film, I know I've said this to you, but whatever. In the first one, Tom Cruise hangs down in that iconic scene onto the computer, from the ceiling. In the second one, he's hanging off the rocks at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
In the third one, he dangles between 2 skyscrapers, he swings between them.
Mm-hmm.
In the fourth one, he runs down that massive skyscraper because basically, I think this franchise should be called Tom Dangles, because every film, Tom dangles in a different way.
Tommy Dangles.
Even in the next one, which we haven't seen yet, Mission Impossible 5, Tom dangles off an aeroplane.
Yeah, he's stuck to a plane.
Yeah, just Tommy Dangles, that's what they should call these films. And I also think that these films, because the stunts are so insane and always seems to be Tom Cruise doing them, I'm sure obviously there are stuntmen involved in some aspect, but, he seems to want to go for the money shots. I think that because every one is more and more extreme, it's Tom Cruise's, subconscious trying to free itself from Scientology by doing these sort of suicidal stunts, let's just hang on to the plane and make it take off. That'll do. That could be the next film. Anyway, so I really like the Mission Impossible films, and I think they're great.
Wow. Well then.
Yes.
Had a lot to say about them, didn't you?
I could say more. I haven't even talked about the cast, like Ving Rhames and Jean Reno and John Voight and Vanessa Redgrave, and I just naming names now.
I suppose.
No, I didn't say why I liked them though.
Why do you like Vanessa Redgrave? Which film was she in?
Mission Impossible 1, which has got a bizarrely similar plot to Skyfall, because there's a list of agents that have been compromised. I can't remember why. There was other reasons as well, but I've forgotten. But there was. So yes.
Excellent. So it's fair enough. Cool. So how do you see? Do you want to see a sixth?
Yeah, obviously I want a sixth. I mean, I haven't seen the fifth yet, but I hear it's really good, and I want to see a sixth.
Do you not hope that Ethan, what's his name, dies?
Well, I think that's the good thing about because they've been building it up as a team, which is also the problem with Mission Impossible 2 is he's essentially on his own, with the exception of Thandie Newton. But so if Tom Cruise died in Mission Impossible 5, Jeremy Renner could happily just become the lead actor and carry it on. That would be fine by me.
Like Bourne.
And
going around collecting fucking franchises.
I know, yeah, and the Avengers. I think that's the only thing that's weird about it is that Tom Cruise, despite having played the guy over the course of 20 years, hasn't really created a character. Like, you don't really know much about Ethan Hunt. You kind of learn things like he's got parents that one dead dad and a mum on a farm in the first one, and then they die by the time that you get to the fourth one, and he has a wife, but then he doesn't, and so you kind of learn him. But as a personality,
what's her name? Michelle Monaghan.
I know.
Yeah,
the original Jennifer Lawrence, I think. Fun-loving and fit. Yes. So yeah, Ethan Hunt's a bit personality free, but I still like it. Basically, he's playing Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
In every film.
In the fifth one, though, if they're building up this kind of team atmosphere, team and family kind of.
Well, they kind of started it in 3.
They've got enough gravity to kill him now, and it'll be a worthwhile death, because he's.
Well, that's fine. Kill him when he's. I'm happy to have another 5 Tom Cruise movies, but don't reboot the franchise when he dies or his character dies. Just get another character to carry on.
Yeah, you can't play it forever, so just.
No, just until the mothership gets him and takes him home.
Till Xenu comes along from the volcano.
Anyway, have you got anything else? Nope. Bye.